Hey everybody, this is the 20-gallon tank I keep set up for my wife to enjoy, and I came in here just to do a little checkup on the angelfish that's kind of hiding in the back at the moment. It'll make its way out here to the front in just a few moments, but it has a strange little pinhole in the middle of its dorsal fin. Its anal fin has a little bit of a tear in it, which is not that unusual to see in angelfish. A lot of times when they dash and dart, their fins will separate a little bit, get a little bit of a rip in them. And you can see on the door, or the anal fin right there, you can see that little tear. So I'm not too concerned about that. But if you'll notice right there in the middle of the dorsal fin, there is a little pinhole. I've never seen that before. I don't know what would cause a hole to appear in a fish's fin like that. Whether that's some sort of nutrient deficiency, I can't imagine that being an issue. I've never had a nutrient deficiency in any of my other fish, and I certainly feed them all the same types of stuff. So I'm not sure what to make of that. I don't think this tank really is in need of too much maintenance. It wasn't that long ago that I got in here. But the one thing I do want to do is turn the temperature down just a little bit. I noticed it's fluctuating between 80 and 81. I'm not even sure what I've got it set at. But we're going to knock it down into about 78 if I can. Again, not sure what that heater is set at, but we're going to have a look at that. And at least get it set for 78 degrees. And then the other thing I want to do while I'm in here is clear up some space and allow for more swimming around room. I know I like a tank that's got lots of plants in it and is nice and filled in and green, but at the same time, all of that space is space that fish could be utilizing as swimming around room. So I have a lot of people ask me about my Java moss and what Java moss looks like when it grows in the tank, sort of unchecked. And this is it. I do get in there when I do water changes and I basically scrape it all out. Of course, some of it always gets left behind, so you know it's growing on the rocks and the plants and everything else. So no matter how much of it I pull out, it will start growing back. In fact, if you look on this Anubias over here, you can see how it's actually attached to the Anubias leaves. It's growing on the Anubias. I'm telling you, this Java moss is a triffid. It will get in there and it will devour your tank if you let it. So that is my main goal today, is to get in there and rip a bunch of that out just to open up a little bit more swimming space. I'll probably even remove some of that floating water sprite. I don't really think we need all that in there either. I do like having some in there for cover. It gives a little bit of shade, gives the fish something to hide under. But we don't need all that. Again, this is only a 20-gallon tank. So let me get started on that, and we'll just go ahead and do a simple before and after video, and we will call this your before. And there's your after. So it made quite a difference getting that glass cleaned up and removing some of the floating water sprite that's opened the tank up a lot more. And of course down here on the bottom I removed a ton of that Java moss as I was talking about. So over time, I don't know if this angelfish is going to wind up being able to stay in this tank. It seems to be fairly aggressive, and it chases its tank mates around a lot. I've been talking to my wife about it. She observes its behavior a lot more than I do, and she says it tends to act like that quite frequently. It just tends to bully its tank mates around. It just seems to be really aggressive. So I don't know if this fish is going to be able to live its life in a 20-gallon. It's really tricky to get an angelfish to be able to do okay in a 20-gallon. The first thing you need to do is get lucky enough to find an angelfish that doesn't grow really big. If it got to be full size, like some of the larger angelfish I've had, it would not simply be able to fit in the 20-gallon. So that's your first hurdle you have to overcome, is finding a fish that's going to stay small enough to stay in a 20-gallon. And then it also has to have a docile enough personality that while being in a fairly small environment, kind of cooped up in a 20-gallon tank, it has to be able to get along with other tank mates. And in this case, these other tank mates, these Pristilla tetras, would probably be a food source for it out in the wild. If they were smaller, if there were any fry in this tank, that angelfish would be gobbling them up. So, I don't know. Again, I really like the angelfish in here. My wife really enjoys the angelfish in here. I've tried several times to have an angelfish in this tank, and it never really seems to work out for the long term. So I don't know what's going to happen with this one. It's okay in there for now. I don't really feel like I'm in an urgent need to move it. But at some point, it probably is going to have to get moved on out of there. So I'll also point out, last night in my live stream, I had somebody asking me about Corydoras and whether I had any Corydoras or not. And you can see right back there, there is a salt and pepper Cory. And this is the tank that I had my original Cory swimming, an emerald Cory. I had her in this tank for a long time, and she passed away about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. But that was my oldest fish at the time, one of my oldest fish anyway. I've got a few that were from my very early days, and she was one of them. Now, it is the following morning. I've come in here, I did that water change a little late in the day, and the tank was still a little boogered up. Takes a little while for all the dust to settle after you've done a big water change. And so it is the following morning, and I'm now looking into the tank, and the whole time we've been sitting here, I have not yet seen that German blue ram make an appearance. So either it is really, really hiding well in the back of the tank, or it has vanished, and I do not see it in there. I'm starting to get a little concerned about where it might be. So let me put you on pause for a moment, and then I'm going to have a look around the tank a little more thoroughly, because this is beginning to concern me, unless I'm looking straight at it and just simply don't see it. But I do not see that German blue ram in this tank anywhere. So let me put you on pause for a moment, and I'll be right back. And there it is. All I did was open the lid, and it came zooming up from the back, so it must have thought some food was coming into the tank. So I was getting a little worried there for a moment. I was looking and looking and looking. I thought once I started talking, it became apparent that my voice was here, then we'd actually see the ram come out, but it did not. But there it is. You can see it in all its color and glory. I'll give you a little size comparison, seeing the angelfish and the ram in the same frame there. So the angelfish is starting to get a little bit bigger. It's still a very small angelfish. It's still a juvenile. It's still very young. And if it's being this aggressive, and it's already, if it's still this small, and it's still a juvenile, what is going to happen when it gets a little bit larger and it comes into sexual maturity and starts becoming territorial and all that kind of stuff? So again, I really don't think this angelfish is going to be able to stay in this tank long term. Now, where I'm going to put it, I haven't a clue at this point, but we will have to wait and see. I'm sure I'll be able to find something to do with it. So, all right, everybody, there you go. There's a nice little look at this lovely little 20-gallon tank I keep set up for my wife to enjoy. Hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you subscribe. Don't forget I do a live stream every Friday night and Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I do a live stream every Wednesday for my members only. It's a private member stream, so if you're interested in that, check out the memberships. Otherwise, subscribe, hit that like button, all that good YouTube stuff. And I will see you real soon in the next one. Hope you enjoyed.